All right. Okay, so I'm going to kick us off. Thank you for coming out tonight. We have a well-packed evening. There will be people still coming in. We have about 40 participants, and I do anticipate more will join us tonight. And this is a collaborative effort. We'll get into this a little bit more as we progress on into the program. We are the Research Triangle Professionals chapter of NSBE, and my name is Dr. Tony Arnold McFarland. I will be your hostess tonight, and I also have a co-host. She'll be introducing herself in a moment. And tonight we are focusing on Women's History Month, and we're celebrating women's history. And we're doing that with a very important topic. It is called How to Become a Data Diva. And why did we choose this topic? Well, we're in an era of a need to close an opportunity gap. And actually, this meeting is targeted at women, but anyone can attend any of our NSBE meetings. We don't discriminate, but we really wanted to focus in on celebrating Black women in data science. And we have some very credentialed experts here tonight. They're going to share with us a little bit about their journey and helping others to understand how they too can take advantage of the opportunities that come with this skill set. Now, do you have to be an engineer to be in data science? No. Do you have to be a data scientist to be in data science? No. There's opportunities for data literacy in so many different areas. And we really wanted to bring attention to that in NSBE because we are getting information and getting insights requesting that we have more Black women with this skill set. And that goes across, like I said, multiple functions, multiple roles, multiple industries. So I won't steal the thunder, but that. So please, as you come in, just so that we can understand who is joining us tonight, tell us who you are, why you joined. Maybe you were invited by someone. Maybe you are a member of BIG. Maybe you're a member of NSBE. Maybe someone from your company told you about this event tonight. And maybe you're looking for career advancement or you just come for awareness. Maybe you're a college student. So please tell us who you are and why you came out tonight. We always like to see who's attending our sessions, and that helps us better understand what is useful information and what people are looking for. So please put that information in the chat. And if you work in data analytics already, let us know who you are, where you work, and maybe you have some comments.
Hello.
I would like to know if this...
You dropped out for a second.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I would like to know if we have anyone on the call from Region 2 officers from NSBE. Are there any Region 2 officers on? I don't know if they are on yet. Richard or any of those. Do you see any?
I'm here.
Hi, Richard. How are you? I'm doing good. I'm gonna go ahead and let you take. I know you wanted to have some remarks during our meeting, so I'm gonna let you take just a few minutes here if you're ready to do that. Is this a good time to go ahead and do that?
All right. Thank you. Can you give me hosting privileges, please?
Sure.
All right.
You good, Tony?
Okay.
So just for a few moments, we're going to have one of our regional officers. I'll let him introduce himself. He wanted to stop by and just have a few words with us tonight.
Great. I have a short presentation, so there's a few slides, so I'll try to go quickly. It'll take about 10 minutes or so, if that's okay. Tony, let me know if I need to stop to make sure that you have time for your program. So good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Richard Ezeki. I am currently the Region 2 Professionals Chair for NSBE, and I'm here because I really want to show my support for all the chapters, and especially this really wonderful chapter of Research Triangle Park. You all have been doing some amazing events throughout the year, and I'm just so proud of the way you've represented yourself as one of the stronger NSBE chapters in the country. And so as regional chair, I feel like it's my responsibility to kind of share with you what we do as a region, what's our purpose, and what are some of the things that we have are doing, just to help chapters understand like what the region is about and how we can support your initiatives and goals. So we're going to be doing what we call a roadshow tour. We're going to be visiting every chapter within our region, which is about 14 chapters. And of course, it makes sense to start with the RTP. So I'm really glad to be here. So let me get to the next slide. So quickly, we're going to talk about the vision, introduce our board, what we do as a region, talk about our membership numbers and yearly highlights, and then go into announcements and some events and also upcoming elections. So in general, we have a national directives, a set of national directives that have been given to us by our chair, our PB, our Professional Executive Board Chairperson, Camila Majid, and that's focusing on lead with purpose, leveraging the NSBE ecosystem, and securing the future of NSBE. It leads to our NSBE Professionals motto, which you see on the screen, and that leads to our Professionals to Pathway goal for NSBE Professionals, which is focusing on membership through the excellence in membership. And we focused on this because it's members that make up NSBE, that make NSBE Professionals the organization that it is, and the powerful force that it is. And so we as the region really want to focus on, and nationals want to focus on making sure that your membership experience within NSBE is fruitful, engaging, and provides you with the necessary skills needed to help you succeed in your career. So I want to go briefly, just quickly through my executive board. We have, of course, we're very similarly organized to the chapters. We have our admin zone. You may see some familiar faces, including Renee Johnson, who is our chair-elect, will be incoming chair next year. And Renee, I want to provide you some opportunity to give some remarks at the end of this short talk. Our communications zone, led by our Secretary Seth Rylander, and of course Elliot Locke, one of your members, is our publications chair. Our finance zone, Shin Anakisi. Our membership zone, again, Renee is chair-elect, runs that zone, along with Jennifer Conwell, membership chair. And then our programs, we have PCI, CI, talent development, which focuses on professional development, entrepreneurship, and then TMAL, which is a sub-program of our PCI. So we have 6 regions, and we're like the only region that actually has a full board. So we have a lot of great leadership within the NSBE ecosystem who has served on our board this past year. So I think this is probably gonna be a more important slide of my talk here. So what, as a professional board, what do we do as a region? So of course, we're kind of at the center, and we have 3 kind of overarching entities that we directly connect with, which is our Professional Executive Board, which is the national professionals, our Regional Executive Board, which consists of the students, and then our Board Headquarters, which is our operational arm of NSBE. And of course, you are the chapter, you as the chapters. So how does this relationship work? So as chapters, you can communicate with us as a regional board about your needs and wants in terms of how we can support you. And then we share that information with all 3 entities, professional board, EPB, the board headquarters, and the REB. And this information could be programs, can be initiatives, can be SIG, which is special interest group events, all this information. And we are kind of the intermediary in between. We take the information from all 3 entities, depending on what they want. And then of course, we share that back with you all as chapters. So I like to see us as the RTPB as kind of an intermediary, sharing information, advice, and many other different things, which this next slide kind of goes into. Like I said, we advise the professional chapters with things they need. We support them. We support directly the Region 2 collegiates. We then support the college chapters in the region. We also support you all as chapters through providing chapter relief funding, any information as I mentioned in the previous slide, and also advertising your programs to all 15 chapters within the region. We conduct our own programs, particularly trying to bring in some of their smaller chapters to get them involved in the NSBE ecosystem. And then we implement directives from the National Executive Board, which is consists of collegiate students, the National Professionals Board, and then Board headquarters. So that, in a sense, is our role as the Regional to Professional Executive Board. We are here to support, we're here to advise, we're here to give you whatever you need as a chapter to be successful in your initiatives and goals. I then wanted to kind of talk about quickly our membership numbers. Right now, this is based off what we took on beginning of March, and we have 749 active members. As you can see, the region RTP is actually the second largest chapter with 77 nationally paid members, and is also one of our active chapters. So we really appreciate y'all's support. I would like to say that out of the 6 regions, we have the largest amount of professionals in any of the regions, and we've actually increased our numbers almost 70% at this time last year. So this pandemic has interestingly hit the collegiate numbers and PCI numbers really hard, which makes sense. And we're really trying to focus on how to build the numbers back up as we slowly get out of COVID. But at least the professionals have grown immensely and have been much more engaged. And of course, you as RTP have been a really significant player in that growth. And so we, again, truly appreciate your support and your efforts. So some of the big highlights we have done as a region, we have a big grant from Johnson & Johnson, which we implemented throughout the year, focusing on connecting with the NSBE junior students and building out our healthcare innovation chops. We built relationships with long, inactive, and dormant chapters, particularly the smaller ones that have kind of brought at the upper level that chart I showed you in the previous slide. We are building connections with our NSBE junior collegiate students through our NSBE Create, which is one of our college initiative programs, building out tutoring and doing engagement with our collegiate students through our fall regional conference resume and interview workshops. And we're actually doing a similar event for our college students this Saturday at their zone summits. And then increase engagement across the board of all our communication platforms. We've been active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, really focusing on building those up. Of course, we follow every chapter on their social media, including you all. So any event that you like to share with the region, you just send that to us and we can repost it. Again, and because we're online and virtual, this is a great opportunity to bring other members of the region and nationally to come into your event to see all the great things that you are doing at RTP. And in terms of connections, we do build our own connections as well. A lot of times companies come to us who say, well, we really want a regional impact. We want to impact not just the chapters in this area or this area, but we want to impact all 15 chapters as much as possible. And some of those companies want to have a much more targeted engagement with maybe multiple chapters in a state. And so we help to facilitate connections. So as you can see, we have engagement with a lot of companies, a lot of nonprofits who want to really build out their STEM engagement. And so as a region, we kind of help facilitate those connections and direct them to specific chapters if requested. In terms of notable events, as I mentioned, NSBE Create, which is our main college initiative program, and is really challenging students to think about what it means to be culturally responsible, as mentioned, part of the mission. We had a number of different events during Engineers Week, which was the last week of February, including a Johnson & Johnson partnership where we expose young kids to music and how it connects with STEM. We have our town halls, which happen every 4th Tuesday of the month, and we usually share a topic of interest and do our regional business and have all our chapters come in and share their concerns, any comments, and how we as a region can do better. The bottom, we have our holiday party. It's one of the number of different membership events that we do. Again, being virtual, we really want to find ways to engage all our members at our chapters at the same time. And so we've done those type of events, and we're hoping to do something like that in April when our term ends. And then we have our 2 Hype Tuesdays, which is our social media campaign for chapters to highlight the great things they're doing on Tuesdays. And so we encourage people to post on their social media, at their chapter platforms, and use the hashtag 2 Hype Tuesdays to really build that up. So some quick announcements. Let's see how much time I have. So we have elections coming up. If you're interested in joining the region and supporting us, elections are extended until March the 20th, applications. As I mentioned, your longtime member, Renee Johnson, is going to be chairperson. So if you You can be working with, going to be led by a really amazing person who's given a lot to your chapter. So if you're really interested in not only in impacting all 15 chapters and moving NSBE forward, please think about applying. And every position is open. As you can see, we have elected positions, and then we also have appointed positions. So we're going to be doing our elections on the 23rd of March, and we'll be sharing information with everybody in the region. So we encourage you to attend. We're going to have a Q&A session to learn more about the platforms of the elected positions particularly. And then, of course, if you're interested in an appointed position, that slide I shared earlier, the application link is there. And then we have a number of different events, right? As I mentioned, connecting with students this Saturday with the Zone Summit, our town hall, as I mentioned, on the 23rd. Our next Music Creative event is going to be on this next Tuesdays from now. And then special interest groups, which are our professional engagement, where they have events groups specifically targeted to industries. They're actually going to be doing a kind of what they call a kickback to bring everybody in to expose them to all 13 different SIG groups. And that's going to be happening this Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. So if you're interested in attending, please register. And then, of course, the big news we have, as you know, is NSBE 47 happening April 5th through 9th. We just got some news that the professional rate, which was currently $210, has now been reduced to $75. And we also understand that NSBE junior students are now going to be free. So, they were at a cost and had some difficulty attending, registering because they had to usually go through a chaperone or one of their collegiate, one of their leaders, the NSBE junior chapter leaders. So now that's changed. So that it's not official yet. I just heard it from the grapevine, but I wanted to share with you early since I'm here. So again, we're really trying to get our professional membership engagement up, because right now I believe we're about 500 professionals who are registered for conference, and we really want to get that to 1,000. So please, I really encourage you all to attend. They got a, despite the moving online, they've got a really great platform, a really great agenda, and we really want to see our professional members support, and of course, maybe more of our NSBE junior students to attend. So please, once you see the official communication, share that with your NSBE junior and your professional colleagues. So with that, I wanted to turn over to Naya if she has like maybe 1 or 2 minutes to just kind of share what she looks forward to next year. Renee, do you want to address your fellow RTP members? And your goals?
Okay. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. And thank you so much for coming out to our event. I get the pleasure of following Dr. Richard Ezeki. So as you can tell, I've been well trained for this upcoming position. He's already told me what my challenge should be. After he was raising $100,000, getting that grant from J&J, he's told me now I'm going to be reaching out for scholarships. I think everybody knows we have a recurring annual scholarship that we offer for the whole region. And we get that from Cisco. We also have funds from SAS for helping our kids with NSBE, with our convention. So now we're going to be in the money-making market because our kids need those funds. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support.
All right, thank you, Renee. So again, looking forward to a great upcoming 2021-2022 year. And so with that, I want to just thank you for your time. Again, thank you to Tony and Doug and the RTP chapter for giving me the opportunity to share. I hope this presentation gave you a sense of what we do as a region. Well, if you have any questions about what we do and how you may want to get involved, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Thank you very much. Renee, I turn it over to you. Sorry, Renee. Tony, I'll turn it over to you.
Tony, same difference.
Yeah, I know there were some few questions on the call, on the chat. If I want to make sure if I have time. If not, I'll be here for the entire event, so I can address any questions at the end if that'd be better.
Tony, can you hear us?
Tony, can you hear us?
I just got back in. I got kicked out. It was such a great presentation. Kicked me out. All right. So thank you for providing us with that, Richard, and kind of setting the stage for some of the things I was going to talk about. I don't have to add those now. You've already kind of shared with everyone what NSBE is about and what we do. We hadn't even set our mission. So we'll do that real quick and go ahead and get going. I've already introduced myself. I want to have Crystal introduce herself before we get too far. Crystal is co-hosting, and she jumped in to help out RTP NSBE. We occasionally get volunteers from different companies. So Crystal, thank you for helping us out. Anything you want to say tonight? You've done an excellent job in helping us pull this together.
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to participate. Just briefly, I'm Crystal Barnes. I'm an account executive with JUMP, which is a division of SAS, a data analytics company. I help scientists and engineers to leverage vast amounts of data and to help them solve their business problems. So on behalf of SAS and RTP NSBE, thank you to everyone who signed up to attend this event this evening. It's been very fun and exciting. You're in for a lot of great things, so stay tuned. And in the spirit of Women's History Month, thanks to our wonderful panelists and everyone else who assisted in planning this evening's event. So thank you very much. I'll be helping monitor the chat as well. So enjoy. Thanks.
Thank you, Crystal. And again, if you're just joining us, I know a few people texted me and they're just not getting in. And please let us know who you are, why you came out tonight, what you're seeking. And Crystal, I'll let you go ahead and do this slide as well.
Okay, great. So I'm not going to read it, of course. I'm just going to kind of add to some of the things that are here. So we do have a few of the members of BIG. I am a member of BIG I see that are in our meeting this evening, of course, one of our panelists as well. But just to kind of name a few ways that we aim to live out our mission with BIG is creating space, promoting opportunities to highlight Black talent and contributions at SAS, and creating space and opportunities to uncover and address hidden barriers to growth and innovation, and also collaborating with HR and SAS leadership to promote a more inclusive environment. So we're working heavy in those areas. We do have a lot of events from HBCU STEM Connect Days, Lunch and Learns, mixers, employee engagement events, and of course, to support all of the recruitment initiatives focused on diversity. But sure, take a second to take a look here and feel free to reach out to me or anyone else that may be here participating on behalf of BIG. And again, thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much, Crystal.
Thank you.
And as Richard has already talked about, NSBE, our mission is to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. And I highlighted succeed professionally because tonight, that is what we're doing. We have programs. It's made up of the programs shown here, and we've had SAS volunteers can help us with these. And tonight, professional development is what we're focusing on. As Richard discussed, we do have a number of professional and specialist groups, and Black Women in Science and Engineering is our local group that's part of our chapter that we are collaborating tonight to pull this together with BIG, and also process improvement. So we do have individuals here tonight who are interested in both of these special interest groups. This is a photo shoot this year because it's pandemic, but this is a prior one, and some of the women in the chapter, and we was just kind of downtown having a good time doing a little photo shoot so that we can have some nice pictures for our upcoming events. But it's held us for a couple of years, but I would like for us at some point to be able to have more, because these are the images that our young people need to see. They need to see themselves through us and those of us on the call. They need to be able to see the impact that they can make on the community, and that they too can be able to have impact and excel in their jobs. So what I want to do now is have the panelists maybe a couple of minutes introduction about themselves, and then we're going to jump right in with asking some questions. And as a matter of fact, as you hear them introduce themselves, why don't you go ahead and put your questions in the chat? Maybe you have some questions that you want to ask them when we get rolling with our Q&A. But I'm going to ask Danielle if she is ready. Danielle, are you ready? Would you like to go ahead and kick us off with a brief introduction?
Sure, I'm glad to start. So I'm Danielle Robbins, and I am a mathematician by training. I did my PhD in biomathematics at North Carolina State. And although I am currently located in LA, I do have strong ties to the RTP area, and I definitely love it a lot. I met my husband there, so it is definitely, I had a great experience there. And so my background as a mathematician, I did a lot of my work in research tied to prevention science for a while, as well as working in disease dynamics and epidemiology, particularly in understanding the impact of HIV in resource-rich countries and resource-limited countries, and did a lot of work in that capacity. But I have ended up working as a digital analytics leader at an asset management company as I transitioned out of academia into corporate. And I hope today what you can learn from me is, you know, the idea of understanding that, like, once you learn how to mine the data and kind of test the data and do different things with applying your skills from, say, mathematics and statistics, you really can go anywhere. And I hope that you can get that from some of the things that I'll share with you today, because I've gone from everywhere, from biomathematics to digital, and I work a lot in marketing as well, and I'm learning a lot about product management within the asset management space.
Thank you, Danielle. And if you don't mind, if you could put that in the chat,
Sure.
what you hope we will learn from you today, that statement. And you said, I think you said it this way the other day, is that learning analysis is agnostic. It doesn't just fit into one space. So if you could please put that in the chat.
Sure.
So if people want to continue that topic with Danielle, she's going to put that in the chat. And also, I will put in the chat, once everyone has introduced themselves, I don't have the full bios here. Our Eventbrite page for tonight does. I did put that on the page before we started tonight, because they have some extensive bios. And also their LinkedIn sites are on our Eventbrite page. So what you see here is just a snippet, and you can definitely learn more about them if you go to that page. I'll put that in the chat. And next we have Vicky. Vicky, would you please introduce yourself? You there, Vicky?
Unmute.
Okay.
Unmute. There you go.
We hear you now.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Vicky Callier. Can you hear me okay? All right. I am so excited to be here. I am a project management consultant and entrepreneur with over 25 years of combined experience of developing software, managing application, infrastructure, process improvement type projects, leading diverse teams, and providing project management and business skills training. I earned my BS from North Carolina A&T State University, which I'm very proud to be a graduate from. I earned my BS in computer science from there. I also have an MS in management information systems. I currently provide project management consulting on financial and government type projects that include managing a data-driven initiative to connect healthcare providers and integrate EHR vendor solutions to the North Carolina Health Information Exchange, which is basically a big, massive data warehouse full of all this type of patient data. And what we want to do there is foster value-based healthcare and improve patient outcomes. I was a member of NSBE during my college and adult years, early adult years, but I'm happy to be here today, and I'm glad to be a part of the community again. So thank you for having me.
And Vicky, you are welcome to join our chapter. All of you are. So we will tell you before the end tonight how you can do that. We're virtual, so you can live anywhere and be a part of the RTP NSBE.
Okay,
thank you for coming tonight. And again, Vicky, if there is something specific that you want to make us mindful of, that you focus on, or something that's a special interest of yours in regards to analytics and how you have navigated it, please put that in the chat as well.
Okay, thank you. And I also want to just acknowledge, I see some familiar faces in the audience. So I'm just pleased to see that I have some actual fellow students and track members out here in the chat. Josette Battle, also one of my very dear friends, Rosetta Gardner or Rosetta Hayes. I also like to highlight Nisha Jenkins. She used to be a former employee of my company. So I'm excited to see Anisha here tonight. And I'm just happy to be able to reconnect and touch bases with all of you. So thank you.
All right. Okay. And next up is Ayanna Littlejohn. Ayanna is actually a member of NSB. She's our member spotlight this month. We'll talk about that at the end. Ayanna, would you like to introduce yourself?
I would, and thank you. Like Vicki, I am so excited to be here this evening. I've been scrolling through the chat, and it's good to see so many beautiful brown faces that are in this space or interested in this space. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you all on this event and even outside the event. I am Ayanna Littlejohn, and my bio says that I am an analytical consultant at SAS, but I'm actually switching over into being a data scientist. But I've really done the same thing in both roles. And so I focus on new product forecasting and customer intelligence. So my background is in mathematics and statistics. That's what I got my undergraduate degree in, and I have a master's in business analytics as well. Like Tony said, I am a part of the NSB RTP chapter. I'm actually coaching a team on the junior team. Super excited about that. So I'm a proud uni. And what I want to bring this evening is some peace. And I say that because in a lot of conversations that I have with women wanting to get into the analytics spaces, ooh, that's so hard. It's so STEM heavy. I'm not capable of doing that thing. I'm not capable of moving into analytics. I'm not capable of doing data science. And I want you to know that that messaging is very intentional so that you feel that way and you do not enter into this space. But we need you in this space because the things that are being built need to have your insight as well.
All right, Ayanna, I'll play the piano too. You make me feel like I could hit some chords behind you when you said that last component right there. So that and look, some of us we're working too long. We've been working like 20, 25 years, and it's a heavy lift to dive into something new. So that was very inspiring for me, and I know there's others out there who I invited for that very reason. So if you could put that in the chat, Ayanna, what you are bringing to the conversation tonight, we would appreciate that. All right. And last but definitely not least, Nicole Jones.
Yeah.
Nicole, would you please introduce yourself?
Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for having me on the panel. I appreciate the opportunity. It's interesting, when I was asked, my first response was no, because I enjoy being behind the computer and not in front of it. And sometimes I can be a little uncomfortable, but a topic such as this helps me get out of my comfort zone, because I can echo what Ayanna is saying, that we need our voices, we need Black and brown voices, and we need voices of women. And data needs you, because so much, I was just looking up a book the other day that was recommended to me called Invisible Women, and how this world is built around white males in a lot of ways. And we take for granted, like the crash test dummy, something as common as we drive our cars every day, but they weren't tested for us. They weren't tested by us, and we weren't considered. So we really need to be in this space, and we need to our voices need to be heard. So thank you for having me. Again, my name is Nicole Jones, and I'm a statistician. I work at SAS in the JUMP division as a senior manager of analytical testing. We test statistical features of the software, validating functionality and usability of JUMP and JUMP Pro software. I have a team of testers who assist me in various modeling quality tools and multivariate methods. And I've earned my bachelor's in applied math from Norfolk State University. And I have a master's in statistics and operations research from North Carolina State University. So thank you again. And I'm honored to be on this panel with these lovely young ladies. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole. And is there something specific that you want to focus on in the conversation tonight? If so, please put that in the chat. If there's a certain area of, I guess, inspiration you can provide, or assistance you can provide, or perspective, if you could please just put that in the chat as well so people can begin to have conversations with you if they like. So in a moment here, we're going to transition into our Q&A. Portion of this, I'm going to ask Crystal if she can go ahead and start scanning the chat for any questions that have come in. And just to kind of set the stage a little bit, I want to make a parallel here to some things that they have just said. I know everyone has heard about Hidden Figures. I don't know if everyone realizes how they, how that story came into existence and kind of, what brought that about. Well, what made that possible? When I say possible, not saying that the capability wasn't there. The capability for women, period, was already there because this is Women History Month, so that was already there. But the opportunity gap, and I have to give Crystal credit for bringing this word and this phrase out, because she and I had some conversation about how we wanted to message this program tonight. Well, that gap wasn't made possible until men were not available for the job. Yeah. Men were off to war, and women became a part of the workforce because men were not available to do it. Unfortunately, we had been excluded from the opportunity, and when men were away to war, World War II, women had to fill a lot of those gaps. We got into manufacturing, we got into assembly, we were a part of the workforce. We were getting out of the home, and women were learning to earn and have the opportunity to earn and becoming entrepreneurs and getting into fields they had not been in before. And so the concept of a human computer, primarily being a female, kind of running the numbers and doing the calculations in the background, is what launched the opportunity for the Hidden Figures. Now, I'm sitting here looking at the screen today. You all are definitely not hidden. You're very revealed, okay? Your capabilities and everything you're saying speaks volumes. But just thinking of how that setting had to take place, that was an exclusion that created the opportunity. And I'm kind of seeing a little parallel of that today. In essence, the problems of the world and the complexity of those problems and what companies need cannot afford to exclude anyone. Human potential is a premium right now for this kind of thinking. So I said that to say, if someone is on the call, sitting here tonight, feeling that they're not valued or they're not capable, or this is not possible, the opportunity is there, and human capability is needed. If you have some interest in this, I want these women tonight to share their stories of their journey on how they became a data diva. How did they get to this point, this level of comfort? What challenges did they have? How did they overcome those? And when did this opportunity reveal itself? So, Crystal, I'm going to pause for a second to see if you have any questions in the chat that we should go ahead and address.
Okay, I do see, and I'll just try to go down in the order that they came in. So one of the questions is, looking for ways to learn about data science for a possible career move and ways to learn how to get training. So if anyone wants to start the dialogue, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, I'll kick us off with that one. And I appreciate that question because, again, a lot of times we feel like there's no space for us in this area. And one of the things that I like to start off with telling people who are interested is to find what it is that you're passionate about and use that to pair it with data science and analytics, because what ends up happening is the science piece of it really just allows your solution and your unique perspective to reach further than you could without technology. And so as you're thinking about how you want to move into this space, taking your passion and then finding some opportunities for you to either network with people in the space to really find out what they do, because sometimes job descriptions don't really help, right? All of us have seen job descriptions and we got the job without hitting all of those bullets. So it's really impactful for you to be able to connect with people on this call. I did put my email in the chat. Connect with people, see what they're doing in their job, see what others are doing in their company or in their division, so that you can say, hey, I'm really passionate about this and I want to learn how to incorporate analytics, or even if that is, a viable thing, maybe I need to, do something else technical. I think that the first piece is really just the networking piece and getting an idea of what others in that space do so that they can connect you with others who are more aligned with your passions.
Thank you, Ayanna. Anyone else on the panel, our panelists, like to add to what Ayanna commented?
Sure, I'll add some kind of additional points of view too. I also think that if you're interested in how to train too, one of the things that a lot of my team members still use is Excel, and kind of working through and learning how to kind of do a lot of things in Excel is also really helpful, because in the end, your stakeholders, especially those who want a quick pivot, that is a basis, and it never goes out the window, even if you do the pivot in using Python. So I think that is a place that you're scared to come all the way in and take a course on an online course or take a course at a local university. You could start first by doing some good YouTube tutorials on Excel and learning things from like using the search function within Excel, which is a big thing. And I think that, sometimes we try to make things so complicated. And I think Ayanna had mentioned it before about like the being scared of jumping into this space of data science, but Excel still is pretty powerful as well in this world of analytics, and if you feel comfortable there and have an idea there, that's a good place to start to take yourself to the next level.
Danielle, can I piggyback off of something you said
Sure.
there? And I saw a question in the chat about this too, and this is kind of a question I have for myself. So getting in this space, there is so much information. Like everyone is saying, hey, come to my school, come to my boot camp. Oh, it's only like 15 weeks, so it's only like 10 hours a day. I mean, so much information. So how people go down where they should start. And there's so many different tools and software. I know Excel is pretty standard, but if you're starting to move into Minitab or Tableau or Jump,
yes.
right, or Jump,
Very easy.
how do you know which one to go with? How do we navigate this landscape?
Well, I think, it goes back to doing your research too on the role.
Okay.
Because different companies have preferences. When I was at my former employer, which is Farmers Insurance, we had to be very well versed in SAS as well as R, as well as C++, and Excel, of course, was the basis of all of that. And at my current company, it's a capital group. It's a little bit different. Like depending on the business unit, it changes. And I actually let my team do where they feel most comfortable at, because luckily I know a lot of the different softwares as well as languages. So that helps. So I think it comes back to kind of research. If you're going to go work for a larger kind of tech firm, they likely, with the new data scientists, are pushing more so towards Python. If they were more my age group, an older millennial, it's R and SAS. So I think you really have to look at the times at this point in time, and do a Google research. Google is really helpful too, in kind of understanding what's popular now, because even like other languages, Ruby, I do believe is out there, and I see some scripting languages coming back into play that at least help with the processing of data in ETL methods. So I just think, like, whatever you do, decide what works best for you and learn it, because generally whatever corporation you go to, they will allow you to use the language that you like. If there is, because I guarantee people are doing multiple things. My overarching team that I'm on, we have we have like a team Python, team R, team SAS in our group, because it's just a preference of what you want to do, because it still solves problems. You still can solve and meet the needs of your deliverable.
Okay.
And I'd like to echo, so there are a few software packages that are free, right? Like R, and you can get started with the freeware. But then for me, of course, I'm a bit biased because I work for Jump, but companies offer lots of tools already. So you may already find out that your company has a license for a certain tool. So check to see what licensing your company already has with different software packages. But even within Jump, there's a free
30-day trial.
Yes, yes, we can get free 30-day trial. But also, if you do have a Jump license, there's this program called STIPS, where it's a statistical training for industry. So it'll take you step by step to help you learn some of the statistics based on Jump. So definitely look at some of the free software. And as Danielle said, I mean, even if Excel is on your machine, you get started there, but get started somewhere and don't be afraid. And I think about my staff, a lot of them come in and say, hey, I know R, I know Python, but Jump has its own scripting language and I don't know Jump. But because they have a foundation somewhere else, teaching them those other tools becomes easier. So at least get started, and it'll be transferable.
Okay. And Chris, do you have any more questions from the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I have. I have a question. If you were hired for your current job or for a direct report, what are the top 3 skills, experiences, and qualities you'd like to see in a candidate?
I can start. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. So I'll speak to an analytical consultant or data scientist. And I actually know Tyler. So hi, Tyler. Good to see a familiar face. So I think the top thing that I would be looking for is someone with good communication skills. And I actually wanted to wrap that back around to our last question. As you're looking to walk into the analytics space, the data science space, a really good skill to have is be able to relay those insights, right? So you can learn all the coding you want, you can find all the insights possible. But if you can't communicate those effectively to the stakeholders for the solution, then it really doesn't matter. And so some people maybe don't want to be coders, don't want to get so hands-on with the data. But if you are able to take things, for instance, we were talking about Excel, if you're able to build charts that really show the story of the data, like get a client introduced, like I like to say, to their data, that's a very important skill as well. So that's my number 1 skill, is someone that has good communication skills. Number 2 for me is agility, because I saw another question in the chat about what does day-to-day look like? It never looked the same. So whenever I answer that, I say it literally never looks the same. And being comfortable with that, being comfortable in a dynamic environment, because some days are going to be solution heavy, where maybe you have something that's pre-built. And again, as Black women, you're going to have a unique perspective on quite a few things that were previously built. You're going to say, yeah, this isn't really doing, X, Y, Z for all the populations, or, especially in the healthcare, financial space, things like that. There's going to be a lot of things that you may feel need to be adjusted, and you have to be agile enough to be able to quickly pivot. Okay, well, today's not going to be a customer facing day. Today's going to be, I'm switching up the whole code, or I'm doing this today. Definitely in this space. And then lastly, patience, right? Things break all the time in this space. And I mean patience and forgiveness, because you don't be so harsh on yourself. I break things almost every day, and I will tell you that, and I'm a professional in this space. They break. Being able to say that that's okay, and having a network of people that you can reach out to say, hey, this is going wrong. I don't know what's going on. How do I fix it? You're not going to have the solution to everything. I think those would be my top 3 skills.
Can I jump in with that one, please?
Sure.
I love what you shared, Ayanna, and I like to piggyback on that. For me, I would say, you know, when you look at any job description, understand what is expected and know what you bring to the table. So be able to identify, this is what I can offer. And I believe Dr. Danielle mentioned earlier, you may not have all the skills, or either that was Tony, you may not have all the skills identified, but know which skills you can bring to the table. And be able to show that recruiter or that hiring manager, this is what I can offer you. This is what I can do. And be able to sell yourself on that. Also, don't be afraid to just learn something new. So I say, make sure you're able to identify what you can bring to the table. Don't be afraid to share that and expound on that. And then also just be able to stand out. Make yourself a marketable person that you're selling yourself. And when you bring that, which is going to demonstrate confidence, you will be able to let that hiring manager know, okay, this is how this person can solve my problem. Because basically what we're looking for is someone that can help fill the need. And if you can fill the need and you can articulate that and say, this is what I can bring to the table and this is what I can do for you, I'm your person for the job, that confidence speaks volumes. And just be able to sell yourself well. And that goes for any job. But first, understanding that description and knowing, okay, these are the skills and the tools that I have for this job. So you have to really do your research and say, is this something I want to go for? And identify what you can do in that. And then sell yourself, you're feeling that need, and then you're being confident about it. And trust me, you'll be able to get that position. But you have to believe in yourself and let that recruiter know that I do believe in myself.
Thank you so much, Vicki. Go ahead, Danielle.
I want to add on that really quickly. That confidence piece, when I was hiring for my team and my previous organization, I chose the person who was the most confident, didn't have the most experience in what we would say a traditional analytics resume might look like, but I could tell that he would be willing to hear what I had to say, right? And he was coachable. And that right there, because of the way he sold himself, was the reason why I brought him on my team. And he's super successful now, and I knew he would be. And it's the same with the people that I've hired on my team at Capital. I look for that confidence, that underlying, like, I don't know it, but I will learn it, and being very honest and straightforward with me. And of course, you want someone to have coding skills, but I'm the same person who went into corporate, didn't know SQL, which I learned really quickly because I had a background in coding in C and doing some other languages. So I just think, like, if you have skills that show that you can learn pretty quickly, and you're able to articulate that, like how Vicki has said, with that confidence, it'll lead to getting your foot in the door.
Excellent. And I wanted to just say one thing too, because I don't want to assume that everyone on the call knows all the terminology we're using, is comfortable with, knows what Python is, not a snake, it's actually actually, like, knows what R is. I don't want to assume that. I want to kind of have you all, ladies, experts, help me, I guess, help us build the desire and explain why this is so important. And I'm kind of alluding to some work I know that Ayanna has done on the policy side, but the reason that we need us in this space is not just because, hey, we need, we're not just saying this because it's just the next great thing. not just analytics, but when we look at STEM as a whole, as NSBE looks at STEM across, across a lot of different areas, life sciences, engineering, a lot of different areas. And what we've realized when we look at history, like we've gone all the way back to the first industrial revolution and brought it all the way up, all of those people of color, especially African Americans, we've had some challenges that we had to overcome. And a lot of our intent in the space was because we were being excluded in some way. Our existence, our lack of existence in that space was leaving us out, and it was detrimental. And I say that to say, my sister is a physician and my cousin is a physician, and I get insight from them sometime on how they have some concern about data that they use at work, clinical trials, and having to make, their decisions are being made about our health on data that does not include us. I think that even some of the space with the vaccinations right now, wasn't a lot of African Americans, people of color in those trials. So I want people to understand how important it is to use data responsibly and to understand what part of their lives are affected when we're not there to make sure it's being used responsibly. So anyone have any examples? I know, Ayanna, you have some, but anyone else, you can.
Yeah, I'll definitely jump in here. And this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, why we have to be in this space. And so at SAS, we have a division called the Social Innovation Team. And basically what we do is we do some data for good projects. And one of my team members, I think, is on this call. She's also a member of BIG. But I've got a couple projects that really just opened my eyes to the need for women and women of color, and specifically Black women, to really be in this space building the solutions that create so many policies for things that affect us day to day we have no idea about. So one of those projects was with the New York Center for the Center for New York City Neighborhoods, excuse me. And what they're a nonprofit, and they have a Black home ownership project that they were focused on while SAS was working with them. And essentially what they were trying to do is increase Black home ownership in New York, right? Because after the market crash in 2008, while all other ethnicities kind of bounced back from that crash, we didn't see that happen with the Black population. And now that we are in a tech-heavy space, right? So we talk about things like AI, that's artificial intelligence, right? So we do a lot of model building that makes decisions for us now. Well, how do those models learn how to make decisions? They learn how to make those decisions based off of the data that we feed into the models, right? Okay. And so then if we're thinking about data that has not been checked for inequities, and feeding that into this large scale algorithm that then turns out decisions on who gets what type of APR percentage on a loan, who gets what kind of closing costs, well, that's just going to be exacerbating all that previous discrimination and racism, right? And so what we were doing was kind of highlighting the data that was being used and say, hey, you know what? No, we're actually seeing that although across all 5 boroughs, there is not a difference in the age of a house, the value is way different. When we're looking at the neighborhoods that have higher proportions of white constituents, that home value is like triple that of the neighborhoods that have people that look like you and I. And while the value is different, when we look at closing costs and things of that nature, it's our people who are having higher closing costs, who, although they have the same amount of space, and again, their houses were built at the same time, they have more rodents. There are more maintenance deficiencies. And if we're not exploring those things, if there's no one in that space to say, hey, this data is really biased and we're feeding this into something that is, the basis of things like underwriting, then here we are, not being responsible. And again, exacerbating racism. Now, this is just like the new Jim Crow. I think some of us have heard that just, circulating through technology. And so What the center is doing now is using the insights that we found to create their own underwriting process to help them navigate biases in the data that's getting fed into those decisions. Another example I can give is we worked with the Malala Fund, which is an organization dedicated to ensuring that girls have 12 consistent years of education. And so what they, their original question was, okay, how can we say, or how do we prove that girls' education is affected by climate? I hadn't even thought of that before, right? But what we found was that it is affected by climate, and it's affected by climate in guess where? Areas that have people that look like you and I. And why does that matter? Well, it matters because we see this big gap in girls' education as they get into the upper secondary education, so high school, because when there is a climate event in their area, it's typically our girls that get pulled out of school to help out at home and help raise younger kids and things of that nature. Well, that turns into them not having accessibility to education past high school. They're not having accessibility to these type of careers. And so what that does policy-wise is it tells government officials where they need to be focused. And again, those areas are more areas that have people that look like you and I, and not thinking through those kind of topics with our unique perspective to say, hey, there's a problem in my community, my Black community, how can I solve it? Because nobody else is thinking about how they can solve issues in Black communities. That's us. So that's why we have to be in this space, because we present some very unique solutions that wouldn't be thought of without us there.
Jonathan.
Thank you, Ayanna. That was excellent. And I think that's very powerful. I don't know that everyone is realizing that when they go to a doctor, that the decisions that they're making may be based on data that does not have their best interest, or when you go to get a home loan, is based on data that may not have your best interest. I just saw something on the news recently. There were some former NFL players who had concussions, and the data was biased, and they were not getting the payout that some of their white counterparts were getting. Some were not even being recognized that they had a concussion. They was just saying, oh, their cognitive level is already not, they just blamed it on cognitive level. So I don't know that people realize that there is a need, there is a mandate for us to be in this space. This is a new literacy. This is a new fluency. At one time, it was the digital divide, and this is a whole nother level. Like, we're digital people because we're sitting here on this Zoom. So this is a whole nother kind of divide. This is a whole nother level of fluency. And I really want to make sure people on the call understand that you don't have to have analytics or analysts beside your name to get in this space. Like, if you're going to work in clinical research, if you're a school teacher, if you're a pastor, if you're in the medical field, you need to understand how data affects you. You're making decisions based on something. And the data that you're getting, you have to understand how that was collected, how that data was arrived at. So I'm going to pause for a moment and see if anyone else on the panel wants to chime in on kind of like that greater purpose. It's not just, I want to, analyze, insurance. I want to analyze warranty or what. It's a greater purpose for you, or you've used it in that way. Anyone else have any stories they want to share on that note? And then I'm going to see if Crystal has any more questions in the chat. Anybody else on the panel want to chime in on that?
Tony, there's a question. I think this is relevant to that.
Okay.
From Leah. She's asking, have we seen any patterns or trends across organizations? I just want to show you how we immediately made a shift in state government. I was working on a project to connect providers to the health exchange or health information exchange, right? Specifically to the North Carolina Immunization Registry. So we can exchange this data back and forth whenever all these vaccines that from babies until 18 that are received, that information goes into this database, and we're connecting providers so we can share that. Working on doing that, COVID happens. So immediately the focus had to shift. No, we continued to work on that operation setup. But we had to shift our focus to getting prepared for vaccines, those COVID vaccines. So the state of North Carolina built this new database. It's called CV, COVID Vaccine Management System, right? CVMS, to actually be able to pull in all the vaccine data and share that information back and forth. So there's one example of just having to shift just a complete focus, not completely take your eyes off of what we were currently doing, but a huge focus went on building this COVID vaccine database. And it just goes to show, I think Ayanna was mentioning that earlier, that you have to be ready to pivot because things happen all the time. And so you have to be adaptable, you have to be agile, so you can quickly jump in and solve the problem. Another question that Leah asked is, I'm just trying to get to it. What are the implications for process improvement? And basically, if the project, so there's several process improvements that are projects that may occur based on, okay, we see we have a problem here. Let's apply Six Sigma. Let's apply this methodology to figure out what's going on. Let's get to the root core and analyze it. There's that data piece of analyzing. We're taking a sample piece of this data to reproduce what's going on so we can analyze and be able to make decisions. Another reason why we need to understand data analysis, because you're able to make those decisions or be able to see what's going on so you can make the improvements. If you can't reproduce the problem and see the trend and really analyze it, then how do you effectively improve it? So using the Six Sigma methodology for process improvement projects really helps to get to the root core of what's going on. So you can figure out a way, okay, let's implement this solution. What happens if you don't move quick enough with that, something else happens. And then that's no longer a need. So what companies are really trying to do today is not spend so much time analyzing. I mean, you need to analyze, but you have to just be a little more agile in making those and evaluating and making those decisions so you can come up with a solution. So that's where agile methodology comes into play with any type of project, to just try to get things to market quick, because, you know, if you wait too long, it's obsolete. It's no longer, you know, a problem anymore because we're on to the next thing. So to answer your question, yes, process improvement projects work. First of all, you got to have the buy-in from leadership, but secondly, you have to actually make sure you implement it in a way that it can be effective. And once it's implemented, you have to continue to monitor to make sure things are doing what it should be. And then what are data-related capabilities organizations are having? We're using it all the time. I mean, just in so many different ways. I mean, even just analyzing the results of an initiative or a project, you have to pull that data, and we create dashboards all the time. So just something as simple as creating a dashboard just to see how things are trending, or just to see the success or the failures, or, you know, if it's not working out as well. But so we're using data all the time in so many different types of ways that it will behoove all of us to just really understand data in general, because the way the trend is going today, we are in a data-driven society that it will help us. It will help your organization just to be able to look at data and just make assessments, and then be able to report that information out with the various tools that were mentioned earlier. I mean, you can use just Excel. You can use, you know, once you just crunch and pivot and analyze in Excel, or if you have the software, you'll be able to create the reports to share with leadership, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for those end results, those details, to just give them a quick snapshot of this is what is going on, so they can go ahead and make some more decisions based on that.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Vicki.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Okay, sure. I was going to just mention, I know we discussed maybe letting some of the audience members ask their question. I see that Rosalind, if you're still on, which I see that you are, would you like to ask your question to the panel? Okay. I don't know.
Might be on mute, Rosalind.
I can ask if not, I don't know if she's on. Oh, wait. Rosalind?
You're on mute, Rosalind.
You know Rosalind, Tony?
I
Oh,
thought I did. It's another Rosalind. Let me see if I can get her to unmute.
so I can ask if not.
Okay, there she is.
Okay.
We're not able to hear you. All right. Crystal, you can just go ahead and ask.
So the question from Rosalind is, what qualifications allow for transition from process improvement, Six Sigma, to data science, training, formal degree, etc.? That is what core skills training is required. And, you know, she mentioned a lot of mentioning Tableau, which anyone want to respond to Rosalind's question?
And Rosalind, we weren't able to hear you, Rosalind. So I think you were trying. You're off. Looks like you're off mute, but we're still not able to hear you. So if you want to keep working on the technical issue, you can.
Looks like she dropped.
Anyone want to answer her question?
Name anymore? Looks like she may have dropped.
She's on.
Oh, is she still on? Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear us, Rosalind?
Nod your head if you can. Maybe not.
She says yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, very good question. Very good question.
Yeah,
So how are you pulling all that together? I guess basically you have your analytics, you got your methodologies here, you know, I'm good to go. So point us in the right direction. And that's for anyone who wants to.
Anyone who'd like to take that.
Sure. I do have some training in kind of Lean and Six Sigma. And what I can say is that a big portion, right, of what makes those process improvements work is the data and using and defining key metrics in order to kind of understand how well you've improved your process. So you already have a core understanding of two things, the business and kind of the metrics that are needed to solve the problem. So what I think, you know, to do additional transition would be kind of understanding how the data is collected and where the source of it is, because you already know how to use the metrics coming from it. And if you understand how the data is collected and what could be a potential kind of anomaly in the data, what could take down the integrity of it, that is a good way to first kind of transition into analytics from the kind of data engineering space. And then if you want to go, or if you're interested more so in pulling out key insights and pulling out information from the data that'll help drive the business forward. If you're in process improvement, you already know, like, hey, this process has to get better. Like we need to kind of go through more documents that are received in a particular center. And the only way to do that is by adding in, when you look at the data, maybe adding in digitizing some processes that may not have been more manual. And so that is tied to looking at the data and understanding the business. And so I think it's just more so of like training, just getting more familiar with this, again, the source of the data and working in the data and just playing around in it. A lot of stuff you find by just doing summary statistics on the data that you're given, by finding the mean, looking at the trends within the data. And that, again, you can start within Excel and just really learn it. And that's a way to kind of move into an analyst role.
I can chime in on that too, Danielle. I worked for as a master black belt for about 10 years in Six Sigma. And so this is how I got to this point. I'm a Six Sigma black belt, and there's a whole nother set of tools. You have your critical to quality, you have your fishbone. So all of those tools are just theoretical. You don't know if it's really going to be true until you put data behind it to tell you what it's been your time. And one of my favorite tools is the Pareto Analysis.
Funny.
I tell anybody, you want to start with something, the Pareto Analysis can take you a long way. That's just like if somebody plays golf, you don't need all those clubs. You just need like 3 of them, right? And you go a long way with that. So the Pareto Analysis is one of my favorite tools because it tells you how to narrow down everything you're looking at and what has been your time and how to make your impact. So one thing that will help you link your Six Sigma methodology into analytics. This is what I'm finding out. I'm still kind of figuring this out myself. Minitab, maybe Jump too. I don't know. I haven't dealt with the Jump, but I know in Minitab they had that little helper, and it will basically guide you and tell you what tools you need. And also you have Companion, the Quality Companion. It takes all those Six Sigma tools and it just lays them out for you, and it helps you navigate your project using the Six Sigma methodology. So that's one I have experience with. Maybe there's other ones that people know about, but that kind of helps you move into the analytics world. Now, the one thing that I can say is somewhat of a challenge for people who are very into Six Sigma versus Agile. Six Sigma, people can get a little over analytical sometimes. They can use more tools than they need sometimes, and the business may not have that much time. So, like they were saying earlier with Agile, the business needs are changing quickly.
Mm-hmm.
There are digital transformations happening in companies for that reason. Perfect example. All right, a vaccine came out. Now there's all these variants of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So collecting data on a regular, consistent basis and looking at it to see if the changes are statistically significant is going to help us determine where the next solution needs to be. So a business can afford to wait for a huge analysis. Not saying it's not needed, but sometimes the need to solve the problem is so dynamic that you have to get to it quicker. So that's kind of where I would say Six Sigma and Agile kind of pivot. You don't want to lose the quality in what you're doing as well. So I think we still need to have some room to make sure we have that balance there. But you also have to think about, the cost of that. What weigh out your risk in every situation. I can do this at a certain cost, a certain risk. So I just said all that to say you need all of those tools, but we're still kind of evolving. How do you go from the process improvement into the agile? There's a digital transformation happening. Every business is not the same. And the best way to do that is to have a coach. Have someone who's already used these tools that can coach you. Because one problem is not going to always be the same. You may have to learn different tools and have someone who is a little ahead of you that can coach. That's gonna be Ayanna for me. Like, she already know that she's coaching me on some stuff. And I got some other coaches now. So y'all gonna be hearing from me too. But have a coach, someone that you can spend regular time with and practice with. I used to have a coach that would say this. He played golf. He said the only difference between me and Tiger Woods is he spent a whole lot more time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So putting in more hours and learning, he probably knows every angle, every course, every undulation in the course, how to hit it. I mean, he spent a lot of time analyzing what he needs to do. And having more practice is what makes you more in tune with what tools to use. Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to follow up because I see Rosalind's follow up saying that she has experience analyzing data. So if you want to be like a pure data scientist, I will say that like learning the methodologies and how to apply them and practicing in with the free software, learning machine learning techniques and understanding the algorithms behind them is actually really important in a pure like data science role. If you're trying to make your pathway into it, and you should look in your company too to see if there's rotations and those type of opportunities as well, because we will bring in, particularly, I work in a team there, we have sales analysts, digital analysts, marketing analysts, and all have some component of, you could be on a business intelligence track, you could be on a digital analyst track or a data science one, but we let it go back and forth and if you're at a different stage in your career, we do these stretch projects where you're going to learn how to do additional techniques that you might not know, being a pure like business intelligence analyst. So I would say that if you don't have the opportunity to kind of ask for a stretch project at work, I would focus on getting additional trainings and doing machine learning, doing all of your statistical modeling approaches, as well as some mathematical modeling approaches from a numerical kind of estimation perspective, and apply and get those skills and to Tony's point, work with a coach and just apply those skills that you're learning where you can.
That's
Yeah,
great.
and
Yeah.
I want to add something too, because I see, Rosalind, you're putting some additional stuff in the chat. I think this goes back to, and I believe this was Vicky that made mention of the confidence piece, right? So I'll tell you kind of sort of how I got into my role as an analytical consultant. So I didn't have experience. Now, I did graduate with a business analytics degree, but there were several other people who were graduating from that program and they weren't getting interviews or even calls back from submitting their application. And so what I did was I used my practicum or my internship, if you will, from grad school to speak to my experience, right? And so, Rosalind, you're saying that you got some experience, especially with like customer facing projects, which is great, right? So those are the things that you really need to lead with as you are applying to these roles, because they attest to your talents and your skills and how you've already kind of pivoted into this role less formally, because that's really what people are looking for. They I will say they are looking for some type of education experience or certifications. But again, if you come in the room and you're like, I've already done this. This is how I did it. This is how accurate it was. This is how the customer felt about it. Boom, boom, boom. That matters too. So just being ready to speak to the experience that you do have informally is just as important.
Very good response, Ayanna.
Yeah.
I echo that.
I would like to add also, thank you to all the panelists and your responses. There may be some on the call that have communications degrees or just business degree, as me. I'm business. I love selling. I love working with people. I love dealing with scientists and engineers. But I know others that have various backgrounds, a nursing degree. And we've touched on it a little, but could we throw out maybe a few degree backgrounds, and maybe you can speak to a role that we could pivot, or someone on the call could pivot into as a start. And again, we've touched on a lot of these, but just maybe just kind of go through some of the roles. I know that we discussed various roles. I'm not heavy into wanting to do the building models, but maybe I want to be an analyst, or just maybe speak on some of the different degree backgrounds and where we can go from there. And
also,
you can just throw out examples if you want. I know, Nicole, you mentioned being a technical writer from maybe a communications degree, or anyone just want to give some examples that may help others, or they can share with someone.
Sure.
Yeah, I was going to just ask if you could put those in the chat, because I'm going to put them in some notes here that I'm going to show in a minute.
That's great.
Sure. I think about the division that we're in with JUMP, and Crystal makes a good point. We have marketing, we have sales, we have technical writers, we have lots of people with backgrounds that are not ours, but I think Ayanna spoke earlier, just the communication piece. So it takes all of us. So we have developers who are developing the software. We have testers, such as myself and my team, that have to test what the developers have created to ensure that it's working. But we also need documentation. We need writers to now, how do you take what we've done technically and explain it to those who are going to use it, which are, our customers. And so it takes all of us to sort of make this product that we're working on, JUMP, work. And so if you're just interested, even in like Crystal, a little bit, where she's connecting these customers with us as developers to communicate customer needs. And so you're getting in that space of data and analytics, and no, you might not be ready to change your career, but you can want to learn and be in the space and communicate and talk about it. And as you grow, your role in your organization may change as you learn more, as you grow more, as your interest peaks, just with the different areas. So I've just seen team members move from testing to technical writing to communications, and they've moved around in order to just at whatever stage of life they in, decide this is what I want to do now, but I want to still stay in the space of data science and statistics and mathematics and computer science, but there are opportunities even within a division to move around and still be successful and connected.
Yeah, and I'll add something too. So products and project management in the data science and analytics space, I think is an unsung hero. I will tell you from experience, working with a project manager who does, or at least understands the technical background, looks completely different than working with a project manager who doesn't. So being able to understand the iterative process that goes along with model building and responding back to a client and saying, okay, here's accuracy now, or hey, here's how we build it, what do you think? And that's not so heavy technical, right? It's really just understanding what goes on during that model building phase that the more technical people are doing. So still a space where you're technical, but not necessarily like digging into coding and all that. But it looks different, and it's very impactful to have a project manager who does understand that type of background. So that's another space that you can move into to kind of, inch your way. You might already have some experience in project management. It looks different in the technical space. And if you can speak to, okay, I understand, the data analytics cycle of what's going on during these projects, you're definitely going to be marketable for those type of opportunities.
Great. Thank you, Ayanna.
Can I chime in on that a little bit too? I was kind of having some conversation with a few people offline a little bit, and there's kind of a perception out there, hey, you're a Gen Xer, it's kind of hard for you to get into this space. So what are some tips or advice you would have for people who have probably been working 15, 20 years and, their job and maybe their current responsibilities are maybe not as relevant anymore, and they need to upskill. What can they bring to the table here? And something that I've discussed with a few people is that, well, you have work experience, so you have product knowledge or you have business knowledge, and you have that wisdom. How can they leverage that to kind of be, I guess, a trait or a plus for them in this market?
Yeah, I love that question. And so what I'll say is really, I feel like all my answers are piggybacking off of all the other panelists because we're getting some gems tonight. It's really about research, right? So like you just said, Tony, you are already an expert in your field. So doing the research to see how that is utilized from a technical lens is really going to be key, right? Because now you're merging your expertise with something that you're moving into, then that automatically actually puts you above most other applicants, because you're bringing in some expertise, and that your expertise partnered with some of the analytics or the data science or statistics that you're learning on the back end. And again, you're showing some of the projects that you've done, and again, let me back that up. The projects, if you're not doing customer facing stuff in your job, that's okay. There's other opportunities for you to kind of get some hands-on experience. There is a website called Kaggle, and they do all these different type of competitions with lots of big data. And the thing I like about Kaggle is that you get to see other people's solutions as well. So it's a really good space for you to be able to learn how to build solutions and kind of tweak it on your own. So as you're learning and building different models, you can say, hey, I'm bringing in this expertise, and this is going to make this technical role better because I have these social skills, or I have this skill, and that'll heighten it. Because one of the things that people often miss is that technical roles aren't all technical, right? Again, we talked about communication. Right. Just because you can code something doesn't mean that it's effective code. How efficient are you? How agile are you? How do you communicate? How do you identify? How curious are you? Being curious in this space is definitely something that is, highly,
right.
highly, one of the things, the traits that a lot of employees are looking for, right? Because again, a lot of solutions have already been built. And so can you look at something from a different scope and say, oh, go this way? So as you already have your skill set, bring that curiosity and bring your skill set and say, hey, I know that in this role, this is how things are technically done. But because of my expertise, I've thought about it this way, or I've done some things this way. And I think that this really brings some value to this role. Actually, and I'm going to go back to Danielle's. I know it brings value to this
right.
role.
And I just want to add to this too, because I think there's multiple ways to kind of get into this space, particularly if you have tenure at your company. What I'm learning, especially if you're at an older company, analytics teams, you know, you've always had an analyst, but the teams and the size of the group is really growing within the last 5 years at a lot of historic organizations, not the new tech ones clearly, but if you have some tenure in your at your job. So if there's things like data competitions that they're having, and they're trying to create cross-functional teams, join a data competition, be that business knowledge, because you understand some things that a person who's just pure an analyst, to what Ayanna was just saying, does not have. And so if you put your toe in there, you can kind of see how do analysts take that data and how do they pull out some of these insights. And then some of the insights could just be completely like, I think we always go back in some of your statistics courses, you can show how two things are related to each other, but really don't have any relation when you think about it, like, you know, the weather, and then say how many times, and then your child's height, and those things could just have the same amount of variation in the data. So you see those things relate. So participate in those type of things. Get mentors within your company if you have who are in kind of that space, and talk to them about like, how do you move from one area to the other. I mean, I've seen colleagues do that who were in management roles for years and years and years, or they were doing other things, and then they started participating in some of these competitions. They started asking questions. When there were some opportunities that came up, they raised their hand for the opportunity. And it led into kind of getting into a pure data scientist role. It led into moving and being what Ayanna was talking about before, a project manager for analytics projects and making things running smoother. It moved into a job more so in the IT space, being around data engineering and integrations, and making sure that the right pipes are connected to create the databases that your analysts use, which is, you know, what Vicky does. So I just think that there's not just one way to get there. And if you have tenure, that tenure is great. It's now how you're pivoting with that tenure, and look for the opportunities first within, before you even like go to this whole route of like, I got to go get a whole new degree. I got to go and do all of these different things. There are a lot of companies trying to train within too.
Right.
That's true. That's exactly right.
And to your point, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Crystal.
No, not to. And no one has brought this up, and this is it's a good thing, but we also highlighted on, you know, the benefits on the you know, on the salary end too. I mean, we're in it for passion, but we are in it, you know,
pay too.
Take care of ourselves and our families and live out our dreams. So it's very, you know, it's a very lucrative background as well. So
and I also did put a link in the chat that had some of the salaries and different roles in there. And if you all have any resources or links, I know Ayanna, you just mentioned one, Danielle, you mentioned one. If you have some resources or some sites that we should be checking out, or there's some kind of events or activities people can get involved in to hone these, you know, kind of work on these and sharpen these skills, please put that in the chat, because I don't know that everybody's ready to go get a master's degree if they already, you know, been working for like 25 years. So they may not be able to. Maybe that they're not interested in that. Maybe they want to kind of just do this on their own, ride it out for the next 10 years or 7 years and go on and retire on out nicely. So if that is a possibility and you have some insights and some resources for that as well, put that in there. Degree versus certification. If there's some criteria people should think about to help make that decision. I saw some people having some conversation about that. Degree versus certification versus boot camp. You know, we got that. We got the boot camp, the certification, or the master. So put that in there as well. Now, we are almost out of time. I know we're not going to get all the questions, but Tyler asked a very good question. Crystal, do you see that one? Did you guys see Tyler's? Okay.
What
Can
about
you read that out?
Yes. What about working data and analytics personally inspires and drives you in your career? I think that's a great question.
Yeah, I love that question. I'll take it first. So I am nosy and hard-headed, but I like to say in corporate, I am curious and driven. And so I am so very thankful to be in a space in which I can really use my curiosity and my determination to enhance my people at such a large scale level. And I think I'm inspired to see the women who were in this space before me. And I say this again, I'm not sure if she's still on the call, but one of my colleagues at SAS, Portia, when I first came into SAS and didn't really see a lot of Black faces. As soon as I met her, she was very, hey, what are your passions? What do you want to get involved in? What do you want to do? What can I connect you with? And she's done that. And a lot of that has led to my development and leadership at SAS and outside of SAS as well. And so I'm inspired to do that same thing for women and Black women specifically, so that they can utilize their passions and their talents that I know we all have to make some global changes that really affect our communities.
Excellent. Anybody else want to chime in?
I can chime in. I think about, similar to Ayanna, that I just always enjoyed numbers, and my parents just supported that. And then I go to this HBCU and I see Black faces like me, and we're all having fun with numbers and math and science and just enjoying it. And then I just was inspired to continue on, and I get my master's degree, and there was a little bit of a shock to end up in a space at NC State where I was like, where are my people at? And so it's like, I wanted to figure out, how can I reach back and continue? And I'm thankful that it's God actually just put people around me. So I was connected to a pre-college program where they were focusing on minorities who would be interested in math and science starting in the 6th grade. And so I was just excited, and it just, every space that I've been put in, it just gives me more and more reason to continue what I naturally like to do from a young age. And so now I'm thankful that at SAS, I look at our customers and what we do when we hear success stories, and how the actual data, the product that we're working on, is doing something for good. And like Ayanna even mentioned, data for good. It's nice to be working in a space where you can look back and see the impact of your work. So it motivates you to figure out, what else can we do? What other spaces can we change? Where else can we diversify? It's needed. It's still lacking, as we all know, in our society, that our voices aren't heard enough. So it's like, there's much work to be done. So it gets me excited that we can't stop now. And even when I do get weary, because I'm older, then I think about the students that I'm helping, hire and encourage, but it's like somebody else has to pass the torch, right? So we pass the torch on to the next generation. So it's too much work to get done, to get weary now. So it keeps me going.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in on that? I think that will probably be the last one, and then we'll do a few announcements and wrap up.
A great way. I think that's a great way to end.
Excellent. Yeah, and just kind of like, like Ayanna said, I maybe also heard some of the other ones say, this is science. I mean, this is an area where you're not going to have the answers. You're going to figure them out. You're going to bring your own innovation and creativity to it, like we do with so many other things naturally. So you got to look at it that way. And you can also take the skill set and pivot it and use it to something for good. Maybe you do that in volunteerism. We need analysts in NASB. Like, we have all kind of data which somebody can help us analyze, So you want to practice on something, you want to practice with a low risk model, we have something that you can pull together and help us understand the demographics. I mean, you can try your skill sets out in volunteering. It's a great way to develop your skills and your crafts. So just kind of in
Sorry, real quick to that point. That's another thing too that I really want to mention. Tony was lightly saying like you can use your skill set to help with volunteering, but you can also do that to make money. So a lot of nonprofits do grant writing, right? And that process is gross. It's a lot of writing. You're submitting kind of blindly a lot. And so I've started doing something that's technical grant writing. So I work with nonprofits and I just help them organize their data to find and create some visualizations to, you know, tag along with their grants. And it has boosted quite a bit of their success rates for their grants. So things like that in the community. And that's another piece that you can bring into the space as you're applying for other roles. It's like, hey, I do this in my community, whether you do it volunteer or paid. But again, it's that finding your passion and then tying the analytics to it.
Excellent. Yeah, it's very excellent. And this is a analytics maturity model. This is something that I found on the internet. I'm not going to claim I didn't create this. You may see this out there a few different ways, but this kind of helped me in my journey trying to understand you know, how it is valuable and how it is impactful. Just understanding what you have and how you can evolve, you know, what you have. This is one thing. Using it to make kind of understanding what has happened is another thing, but using it to be able to predict what's going to happen and being able to prevent what you don't want to happen is where you want to get to. So having this in front of me, I look at this periodically with my job to kind of help me see where I am and where I need to go. And also what I'm finding out is this evolution, this map helps understand what tools I need to be using. I used to ask, well, how do I know if I need to use Excel or when does this need to go to a dashboard and what is all that about? Well, this kind of helps me have perspective over that. And I just, you know, met with some people who work in this space and they pointed me to a few tools and books and things like that. So that's kind of how I've been finding my way. And if you just go out there and search analytics maturity model in a couple of different fashions and ways, and it helps you to maybe understand your own job and what you're doing and how you can be more impactful to the business with what you're working on.
And this is a model used by lots of companies. My company uses this model. This exact one.
Okay. I'm like, excellent. Well, I'm going to be meeting with Ayanna.
Exact one. Okay, this exact
I'm going to be meeting with Ayanna on this in a few days, so to help me fill in the gaps around it a little bit more. Yep. And I took some notes from tonight from our panelists. If you want to put some other things in the chat, recommendations for navigating the data space, be agile. You have to be ready to pivot your skills, communicate your data appropriately, be able to communicate it. Now, side note, I've worked with some people before. They could make Excel, do all kind of beautiful charts and everything, but it wasn't really what I needed to help me out with my project. So being able to have the right analysis that is appropriate for the project and it's concise. And being able to communicate that to somebody in like 10 minutes. Like you don't have 30 minutes to talk to a manager or an executive. You may not even have 10 minutes. So the charts have got to be able to tell your story.
Yeah.
They got to be able to tell your story. And we talked about data-driven decisions, having a proven methodology to go along with that. And like I said, have someone, I call it a data fluency coach, someone who knows where your gaps are, your individual situation, and they can provide you with some problems to work on and some situations to put yourself in to kind of work on those skills. Anything else that anyone wants to add to some of the recommendations that we should do?
Yeah, I just want to add the importance of networking again, because again, a lot of the job descriptions may not be that easily interpreted. I feel that way quite a bit of times when I'm looking at descriptions. So finding professionals in that space, again, that could be anybody on this call, or even as you're just scrolling through LinkedIn or within your companies, just shoot a quick, hey, I'm really interested in this. This is why, could you talk me through what you do on a day-to-day or what, you know, your role entails, because then that kind of gives you a better insight. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm really interested in that, or, ooh, I thought that was something, but I'm good. So
Right.
it's really
Yeah.
important to make those connections, so you know that you know what those roles are.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point with any job. Before you go applying for it, you already know whether or not you're going to like it. So it's a great point. All right.
There
And
was one last
also,
question to come in, Tony. I
go
don't know
ahead.
if we can answer it. I don't know if we have enough time, but it was thoughts on the automation needs of small to medium business in underserved communities. I don't know if we can take that offline, or we have a minute for that, or.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
sorry.
take a couple of minutes and someone can answer it.
Okay, just wanted to let you know it came in.
Can you repeat it, Crystal?
Oh, sure. What are your thoughts on the automation needs of small to medium businesses in underserved communities?
Yeah, I love that question. So I do a lot of data readiness consulting. And what that looks like is small to medium businesses to say, everybody's like, oh, analytics is the thing. I want to use it. Build me a model for this. But it doesn't work that way, right? So you need to make sure that you have the appropriate data. Appropriate means that you have a vast amount that from a time lens, right? So if you're forecasting something, you want to at least see 3 to 5 years of previous data. But then is looking at the granularity of the data and other things that Danielle was talking about earlier, just some quick summaries to see if it is data rich, or, you know, there's some kinks that have to be worked out. And so as you're thinking about automation and things like that for a small and medium-sized business, it's definitely a need for it, but it has to be approached with a lot more care than larger corporations, because there are typically a lot of gaps. You're just getting started on the analytics, and what you don't want to do is start making decisions off of premature analytical models that are being built without, you know, the robust history that will actually give you some clear insight, right? So for example, let's say you have a food truck and your food truck started in 2019 and you want to start forecasting to say, hey, where do I need to be parking my food truck? So I'm going to hire a consultant to do some analytics to show me placing of where I need to be throughout Raleigh. Well, COVID just hit last year, right? So if you're just using that small amount of data and now you're going to move your food truck around what that limited data looks like, realistically, that's going to hurt your business more than it's going to help. So making sure that you are hiring professionals that are really going to evaluate your data and take you through the full analytics cycle to make sure you're making cautious and profitable decisions is really best. But I definitely see the need for it in this space. I think it is just a long-term relationship, that relationship starting with getting your data ready to do the analytics.
Yeah, and then just to add on really quickly, most companies will, because I work in digital analytics, will have a website, right? And so making sure that because you're small and you're in your first 1 to 3 years, you should be gathering the data and just kind of understanding the trends. You should definitely, if you don't have the money and the resources to get a huge web provider to build your website, to use the right tools that offer analytics along with the software, using things like MailChimp that also you can get your analytics and understand which links are the best things that are opening in the emails and campaigns that you're doing. Use things like Squarespace or that have these analytics components to it. Vicki will tell you about Google Analytics, to, you know, these things that are free and that you can also train on the web, and just so that you're starting to gather the data so that someone can help you. You can link up with someone like Ayanna, who is helping in this space, helping small business owners. Like, at least you have one tier of data. You have your digital lens of data, while also getting you set up for that initial part of your data analytics maturity model, like in your first years where you're getting descriptive before you can get to the predictive stage. Exactly. That Tony just shared. That still applies to these small businesses and underserved communities, but also just understanding that there are a lot of free tools that can be used to get you started, to get you to a place where you can continue to mature.
Writing. Thank you so much. I hate that we have to the end tonight. I mean, this conversation is like
good.
like once a month, right? Well, I wanna thank everybody. I know this has Nicole's name on it, but each one of you is going to get a copy of the certificate. If we were in person, I would give you a hug and shake your hand, but unfortunately we're not able to do that. I want to thank each of you for taking time out to volunteer tonight and just pour into us and share your insights as we celebrate you as a woman in data science and helping us understand how you became a data diva. I hope this is not the last time we're going to have this conversation. Maybe in 6 months we'll come back and say, hey, we went to a boot camp, or we got this certificate, or we're building models now. So I want to thank each of you, and we look forward to being able to have future conversations like this. And I offer each of you the opportunity to join RTP NESB. It doesn't have to be sometime in the future. We do have process improvement special interest group, and I saw Georgette on. Georgette, did you want to say anything? She is our SIG director for that. Did you want to chime in on anything? Because we do have a lot of conversations around this, and we have other data divas in NESB as well.
Sure. I jokingly told Tony that I was just trying to be an attendee. So this was a great workshop. I definitely am interested in the data side, and it's not a side I've had to delve into for quite some time. So I definitely learned a lot here. So I am Georgia Harrison. I'm the current director of the Process Improvement SIG. And so again, great workshop. And also in terms of data, we have a collaboration with a group called Correlation One, where they do a 13-week boot camp. And actually you can sign up, I think up until Friday. I can't find the link right now, sorry. But they do a 13-week boot camp. You have to take a test to get admitted, but it's free, it's on Saturdays. And the goal of that organization is to get more Black and brown people in the data science and data analytics space. So that's why it's super important. And it's a program that they'll keep rolling out throughout the year. But also if you're attending convention, they will be doing a workshop called Demystifying Data Bias Through Diversity. And that'll be on the Monday of convention from 5 to 6:15 Eastern if you're attending convention. So you can also look out for that programming that we will be providing at 47.
Georgette, can you share that link with us?
Yes.
And we can get it to people if you don't mind, sweetie.
Yep. Worst case scenario is probably in one of the newsletters. So I'll go dig it and send it to you, Renee, and Tony.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Georgette, if you also have it on the LinkedIn, if it goes out there, I've seen it.
It does. So we have, I dropped our, and I'll go do it again. I dropped our lead-in page where it connects you to all of our links. So if you want to join the SIG, if you want to learn more about the SIG, I'll actually put that here. And then you can actually follow our SIG on LinkedIn, Facebook, and IG. So we post a lot of our content, whether it's webinars, workshops. We're going to start promoting 47 soon. And then if you just want to keep track, so we do a monthly we're doing newsletters bi-monthly. We have monthly spotlights where we highlight different topics. So this month is, I just drew a blank. So January was industrial engineering and optimization with myself and Dwayne Allen. February was business strategy and transformation. I just blanked on March, but March should be coming out next week. So feel free to join. We always take feedback as well. If there's any programming and certain trainings you'd like to see, we also try to keep track of those. And that's a little bit about what our SIG is currently doing.
Thank you, Georgette. So if you're in NESB and you want to continue this conversation, that's the SIG you need to be in. Awesome. You want to join NESB? Go ahead, Crystal.
No, go ahead, finish. Just one last little question.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, anyone interested in joining rtpnesb.org is where you go. Local dues are $20. National dues are $50. You can still join and then go to the conference for $75. So, and go all week, go all week. So it's the 5th through the 9th, and there's something going on pretty much all day long. You can go to convention. the agenda. If you can also give this information to anyone afterwards. I do want to mention real quick that
Tony, you're
Ayanna
cutting
was
in and
our
out. Can you say
okay.
that
Can you
again?
guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I was going to just mention that Ayanna is our member spotlight. So if you go to our website, you'll see right up on her and things that she's been doing and been initiating in the organization, and more to come. I won't steal her thunder. I won't say everything about what's on this slide. I'll let her do that in her own time. And real quick, if you're interested in being a part of the workshop with the Forge Initiative as a virtual workspace here in the Raleigh-Durham area, they've invited NSBE to participate in their engineering day. We're doing a workshop called United We Divided We Complicate. So if you're interested in being in that 1 hour space, reach out to me. I have a few people who have chimed in already, and we're going to talk to them about our perspective on the engineering journey. And also, NSBE Junior parents, if you're on, make sure your students are ready for the meeting on the 26th. If they're going to convention, they're part of those 16, they will be presenting their projects at this on March the 26th. So just make sure that you register for that. And convention, we just talked about it. That's the website, convention.nsbe.org. All right. And that's how you get in touch with me. If you need to reach out to me, I also will send out this video. It will be available. And that is the end. I think Crystal had a question.
Tony,
and then
one thing I'd like to add, please. The AKAs of the Durham chapter are partnering with UNC, and we will have shots next week for the COVID. COVID vaccination shots, if you all don't mind. Please be on the lookout. I will be sharing it. I just found out we're doing it again. This will be our 3rd week, and you will be out in 45 minutes or less, and that includes your 15 minutes of wait time.
Excellent. All right, Crystal.
Oh, sure. I think you touched on the NSBE Junior. I had someone ask me about their college student and their kids. So maybe there's something you can share. A couple people on the line wanted to know for their kids, how they can be a part, or their college, students.
All right. So I'll just say real quick, Doug, if you could put our website, rtpnsbe.org, in the chat. You go to the membership link. The membership link will have the professional chapter. So that's us here on the call, the grown folks, and then the college students. Actually, a college student has to join at their college chapter. Now, if you go to a school that does not have a chapter, you can still reach out to me. I will put my email address in the chat, because we've started something called Research Triangle Collegiates. So this is for students who go to a college that does not have a chapter. We still want you to benefit from the conventions, the scholarships that you can be getting, the opportunities you could have as a general member. But you need to kind of, be around some professionals to help coach you. We provide mentoring, mock interviews. Some of us are the ones that are doing interviews, when you go to a career fair. So that's Research Triangle Collegiates, but all of that is on our website, rtpnsbe.org. Now, NSBE Junior is actually grades 3 to 12 to be an actual member. However, we have a little interest group, K through 2nd grade, and you can sign up on our website. You go to rtpnsbe.org under membership, and it's $5. If you are 3rd through 12th grade, you pay the national dues as well. So that's how you do that. And our season is almost up, but we do plan to get some stuff together for the summer. We want to have a coding camp. We want to digitize our young people. We don't want them to be sitting here having this conversation 30 years from now. We want them go ahead and get their, feet ready and be comfortable with everything. Were there any final other things before we close out? Anything I missed, eBoard?
I just wanted to make a correction. Our DS4A deadline passed on the 7th. So follow our SIG to see when the next iteration is going to come out. It may be toward the summer. because it's 13 weeks. So it looks like they may be doing it at the pace of 2 a year. And then also I dropped a link to the global kickback that we're having on Friday. So all of the SIGs with the regional chairs are hosting an event from 5 Eastern to 8. And you can learn about NSBE as a whole, our individual SIGs, and it's kind of a call of people who aren't active to get active again, and then also join a SIG if you like. So it's also another opportunity to find out more about the professional side of NSBE and what each SIG offers. And then if you want to get active, you can sign up and then also learn about the programming that each SIG will be doing at convention. Like our SIG alone is doing 8 workshops, which is a lot. But we're trying to cover different spaces like executive panels, the data analytics. Our yellow belt training is actually full.
Yes,
so we're looking to offer, and there's a long wait list. So hopefully for PDC, we'll be able to offer a 6 Sigma green belt. Right. So we're working on these things for, other parts of the year. So again, a global kickback will get you to learn more about NSBE if you're new to NSBE, or even if you're not new to NSBE, but you don't know about all of the 11 SIGs, you can start to understand what the SIGs purposes are, what activities we do. And then if you have the time to get engaged on a SIG, because we definitely all need help to keep pushing the mission forward of our society.
Excellent. Thank you, Georgette, for mentioning it. And let me just say this, because I know we have a lot of people who are on the call, maybe not familiar with NSBE, but it's not just for engineers. Anybody can join NSBE. You don't have to be Black to join NSBE. You don't have to be an engineer to join NSBE. Anybody can join who wants to connect with the mission and is excited about moving the mission forward. So with that, I'm going to close out.
Tony, one more thing. We also donated new books to the community centers that we work with. So I've delivered all of those. And if somebody gives me some more free books, they were all new and free, I will be delivering them. And I also have a box for North Carolina Central, our school when it opens back up, our nursery, and also for Pearsontown Elementary School. So thanks to the lady who said, I need to get rid of these books. I didn't realize they were all new, but excellent, all grades. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody. I'll stick around for a few minutes. We'll go ahead and we'll stop recording, but if you have a few questions, we'll stick around for a few minutes and answer those.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.